Part 4 in Introduction to Cloud Computing, this short video series. In part 4 we will talk a little bit more about the management aspects of cloud computing. So it's all about understanding what cloud computing does for business, understanding what cloud computing, what benefits cloud computing brings to the IT industry. Because most of the cloud computing benefits and most of the cloud computing impact will be at the IT organization level. Because for the end user, understanding the difference between infrastructure provider, platform provider, or application provider, it's quite hard. So for the end user, it's one big cloud where IT services come from. So it's really up to us, it's really up to the IT professionals to figure out how to manage this business expectation and the end user expectation so that the delivery of cloud service is fluent and up to the quality levels that the end user expects and needs. So from a business point of view, when we're looking at the decision whether or not to utilize cloud-based services, we're looking at whether or not we want to keep all our data and all our information and our systems internal, or if we have the ability to go external. Do we have proprietary systems, or are the systems more open? How do we deal with all that? And it is these consciously made decisions that will be and will become crucial for the organization. So just to give an example of two of these decisions, we're looking at internal versus external. So why would you choose internal, or why would you choose external? As in internal IT or external IT. So it all comes down to your control levels, your levels of control. Do you need more or less control over your IT resources? Do you need more or less control over your finances? Do you have an infrastructure budget, or do you rather use an external service provider so that you can do a subscription-based model where the upfront investment is a lot lower? So that is one type of decision. And then the other type of decision could be, are we going to insource or outsource our IT organization? Quite similar to the internal versus external choice we just spoke about. But this is not so much about the finances and the control, but it is all about the deployment of your IT and the strategic support that you have in your organization. Because looking at it from this point of view, just purely looking at cloud-based services from a business point of view, from a business relationship point of view, if everything is on-premise, if everything is internal, it's insourced, you, the organization, manage and control all the interim steps in the IT provision. When you go with an infrastructure as a service model, there is, from the bottom down, the networking, storage, service, virtualization, which will be managed by your vendor. So there's less control, or direct control, direct management involved from you, the client. And it goes a bit further with platform as a service, and then with software as a service, you're the subscriber. So you're really the end user of the system. You have nothing to do with the actual management of the IT systems. So keep this in mind when you make your choices about what type of cloud computing you want to use, and if cloud services are appropriate to your business scenario. The service catalog will be split up. So your service catalog, you as a customer, you need to be able to find the service. So you can either do that via a broker, or you go directly to your provider. So all these levels, they need to have a very clear service catalog with very clear expectation levels and service levels. So you need to know what you're getting yourself into, because again, management is all about the control of your resources and control of your risks. And the control of your resources, control of your risks, that flows into return on investment. So not just a financial return on investment, but the strategic return on investment. What are the outcomes that you are going to gain by utilizing cloud computing? What other benefits will cloud computing give you from a flexibility point of view, from a competitiveness point of view, from an agility point of view? Like, what is the return that cloud computing is going to give you and your business? And then the other side of the coin is the risk involved, because running services through cloud computing, or subscribing to cloud services, there is a challenge and there is a risk involved. And we mentioned a little bit about that earlier in the previous videos that we did. As with everything, it's all about consciously taken risk. So identify and analyze your risk profile. What level of risk are you comfortable with, and deal with it at that level. And cloud computing could very well fit into that category. When you do all these consciously taken decisions, you will come up with constraints. You will come up with regulatory requirements, compliancy issues. Not every industry, not every organization is allowed to have their data offside or even out of the country. So figure out before you do anything what you can and can't do, because once you're in this process, it's very difficult to turn back. So think about your regulatory requirements, organizational policies, like internal organization. What agreements do you currently have with vendors? What contracts are you locked into? What is your budget? What is your funding? What are your timelines? Does it need to be done within a certain period of time, or can you, sort of pace it through a bit longer time period? All these constraints need to be in the forefront of your decision-making processes. And once you've made the change, once you've made the decision to make the change, so you've made the decision to make the change, you haven't made the change yet, but how are you going to do that? How are you going to manage this change going from in-house IT to cloud-based IT? How are you going to manage the insecurity that this may bring your IT staff? How are you going to deal with the changes in policies and procedures for your end users? So have a project in place. Keep it simple, but have a process that guides all your employees, all your staff, all your end users through this process of moving from in-house IT to cloud computing based IT. So keep it simple. Build it on your service transparency, because you don't want to alienate your staff. You don't want to scare them off. So encourage people to distribute, or to contribute. Sorry, not to distribute, to contribute. Be very aware of that. People will be scared because everybody will be afraid of their job. So communicate this very clearly with everybody involved. That is part of managing cloud services as well. It's not just about the systems. It's not just about the services, but it's about the people that you have internally and the people you employ externally as part of this overall service provision. And then your organizational change continues with subsystem changes versus organizational wide changes. What are the things that you plan or unplanned? So how does your change management flow through not just your IT change management, but also your organizational change management? So with that, in the last 4 short videos, we've been talking about a high-level introduction to cloud computing, the difference between software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service. We've spoken about virtualization, and this last video about the management aspects and the consciously made strategic decision to move forward with cloud computing and how to move that forward in your organization through organizational change management in such a way that you empower your staff and your employees to take all this on board. As always, if there's any questions you have in relation to cloud computing, not necessarily about the technology behind it, because there's other companies that focus on technology purely and solely, but any other questions you have about cloud computing or education around cloud computing, email me. It's ivanka@artofservice.com.au, or contact us via our website theartofservice.com. It was lovely speaking with you, and I look forward to hear from you soon. Bye.